Ichika is a miserable loner who somehow ended up transferring to an all-girls school due to a rare ability he possesses. At first, he absolutely hates it. After all, no girl has ever liked him. He's known for being less attractive than a troll. But things take a strange turn when he realizes that every girl in the school suddenly wants to be noticed by him. On his first day, Ichika's still trying to figure out how his life took such a bizarre turn, being the only guy in a school filled entirely with girls. His thoughts are interrupted when a rather unattractive teacher named Yamada walks into the classroom and briefly greets the students before asking them to introduce themselves. Ichika takes note of his childhood friend, Hookie, sitting nearby, but she acts like he doesn't exist. That leaves him wondering if it's because of his weird face or if everyone just naturally hates him. When it's his turn to introduce himself, he awkwardly stumbles through it, making everyone question how this weirdo even got accepted in the first place. Just then, a woman who looks way too familiar to him slams her head on his desk. Ichika is baffled. Why is his older sister here? It turns out she's his new teacher, Shifuyu, and she's there to train the class on how to pilot an IS. The students erupt in excitement once they realize their teacher is the legendary Shifuyu. Meanwhile, Ichika is still lost in confusion. Shifuyu slams his head on the desk again for not greeting her properly, and the class is quick to connect the dots. He must be her younger brother. That also explains how he's the only guy who can control an IS. For context, Shifuyu was Japan's representative in the very first IS tournament, where she gained legendary status. But one day she mysteriously retired and vanished from the spotlight. Now, Yamada explains to the class that IS stands for Infinity Stratos, a high-tech multifunctional exosuit developed in Japan that gives humans incredible abilities. However, IS suits are banned from warfare and are only used for sports and competitions now. She adds that this academy is the only official place in the world for training IS pilots. After class, Ichika becomes the hot topic among the girls. He's infamous worldwide as the first ever male to pilot an IS. While others might enjoy the attention, Ichika finds it overwhelming. He's not used to being looked at, let alone admired, especially not by girls. Then, Hookie finally approaches him and asks to talk in private, so they head to the rooftop. But it ends up being an awkward waste of time. Back in class, Ichika feels like a total idiot. He doesn't understand a thing, and realizes he's probably the dumbest person there. That's when Shifuyu shows up again to ask whether he read the reference book sent before enrollment. Of course, Ichika lost it. His sister, unimpressed, smacks him again and says she'll give him another copy, and he'd better have it memorized within a week. Later on, another student walks up to him and introduces herself as Cecilia, the representative of England. She clearly thinks very highly of herself, boasting about her accomplishments and acting like it's an honor for someone like him to even be in her presence. But Ichika, used to insults his entire life, isn't even fazed. As she walks away, she continues bragging, mentioning that she's the only one who beat an instructor during the entrance exams. To her surprise, Ichika casually mentions that he also defeated an instructor, which immediately shatters her arrogant aura. That evening, as Ichika heads to his dorm, he's followed by a swarm of girls like their paparazzi. It's painfully awkward for him. Upon reaching his assigned room, he opens the door, only to find Hookie stepping out of the bathroom in just a towel. They both freeze. She immediately goes for her wooden sword, but Ichika bolts out of the room, dodging her furious swings. While he's complaining outside about how she almost killed him, a few attractive girls show up trying to sell him watermelons. Feeling like he's reached his limit, he begs Hookie to let him back in before he burns out for the night. Once inside, she accuses him of setting this up to become her roommate, but he insists he had no idea. Hookie reluctantly agrees they need to set some ground rules if they're going to share a room, whether they like it or not. Hookie agrees to share the dorm with Ichika and starts making some serious suggestions about room rules, clearly thinking like someone from a man of culture club. Ichika panics, grabs a wooden sword lying nearby, and tries to defend himself. But when he realizes he might have gone too far, seeing her battle aura flare around the weapon, he quickly backpedals and tells her she actually looks pretty cute. She turns red with embarrassment. The next day at lunch, Ichika notices Hookie's usual serious expression and jokes that she must be professionally trained to frown like that. She flatly replies that she was born that way. Before the awkward silence can settle in, a group of short girls approaches the table, clearly more interested in Ichika. Jealous, Hookie excuses herself and walks away. The girls immediately start teasing, saying Ichika and Hookie look super close. He explains that they've been childhood friends since first grade and used to train together in the kendo club. Suddenly, Shifuyu appears out of nowhere and scolds everyone to get back to class. Later during the lesson, Shifuyu announces that they'll be holding a class tournament and need to elect a representative. Before Ichika can even decline, Cecilia stands up and verbally obliterates him, calling him a disgrace to the class and saying someone like him becoming their representative would be shameful. Furious, Ichika accepts her challenge on the spot and swears to beat her so badly she won't be able to walk afterward. Shifuyu wastes no time and sets the date for their duel in the next class. Shifuyu tells Ichika that there's currently no IS unit customized for him, and it will take time to create a personal one. This surprises the whole class. Why would a first-year student get a custom-built IS? They immediately start speculating that the government must be backing him. Cecilia storms in, clearly annoyed. She brags again, stating that although it's already obvious who the tournament winner will be, she still thinks it's unfair for her to fight with a personal IS while Ichika only has access to a basic training model. Ichika is shocked to learn she owns a personal IS, especially since only 467 units have ever been produced. All their cores were designed by the genius inventor, Dr. Tabane Shinanono, Hoki's older sister. Shifuyu confirms that personal IS units are extremely rare and only available to government officials or corporate elites. Ichika is getting one purely because of his unusual case. A girl with purple hair ribbons then asks if Hoki is really related to Dr. Tabane. Shifuyu drops the bomb. Yes, Hoki is Tabane's little sister. The class erupts in questions, eager to know more about the elusive scientist. But Hoki snaps, yelling that it's none of their business where her sister is. Ichika silently wonders whether Hoki has a strained relationship with Tabane or if she's just naturally angry all the time. Class continues as Yamada explains more about the IS system, but Ichika can barely focus. He's too distracted by Hoki's mood and the mysterious teacher who's now standing just outside the classroom window. Later that day, Ichika approaches Hoki and suggests they grab a bite to eat. She refuses, but he cheerfully grabs her hand anyway, trying to cheer her up. She flips him onto the ground in response. He laughs it off, saying she's gotten stronger, but she retorts that he's the one who's grown weak. Still, he takes her hand again and pulls her toward the cafeteria. Hoki follows, hiding a small smile. While eating, Ichika asks if she can teach him about the IS. He's starting to realize he's completely out of his depth, especially with Cecilia breathing down his neck. Hoki hesitates, saying it's kind of his fault that he's even in this mess. Just then, another girl steps up and offers to teach Ichika instead. Hoki immediately shuts her down, declaring that she's already handling that job. Training begins, but Hoki quickly notices just how rusty Ichika has become. She gets angry and scolds him, shouting that the problem isn't the IS, it's him. From now on, she declares he'll be training with her 3 hours a day after school. After a week of this intense kendo training, Ichika is totally fed up. He confronts Hoki, asking why she hasn't taught him anything about IS yet. She bluntly tells him that his unit isn't ready anyway. That's when it hits him. He's been taking lessons from a kendo nut all this time. Just then, Yamada calls to inform him that his IS is finally ready. It's time to prepare for the big fight. Ichika knows he's doomed the moment he sees his fancy new IS suit, something he has zero training to operate. Still, he puts on his crop top and activates the unit, hoping to figure things out as the battle unfolds. He's told that Cecilia's IS is called Blue Tears, a long-range combat unit. But he's also reassured that every IS has a built-in safety feature that protects the pilot's life. He might just lose a limb or two. Ichika heads to the arena, and right away, Cecilia starts running her mouth. As soon as the match begins, she fires a blast that sends Ichika stumbling. She follows up with a relentless barrage from her cannons. He barely dodges the explosions, but then manages to summon his weapon and rushes toward her. Cecilia cranks up her attacks, but Ichika dodges with unexpected agility, leaving Cecilia stunned and the audience on the edge of their seats. Tatanashi, however, isn't impressed. She notes Ichika's twitchy left hand as a sign he's about to make a dumb move. Classic Ichika behavior. As Ichika keeps evading the attacks and closing the distance, Cecilia launches her dual warhead missiles straight at him. They chase him relentlessly, and one finally hits, sending shock through the spectators. But instead of going down, Ichika's IS begins to transform. He realizes the weapon he's now holding is the exact same as the one his sister used to wield. He powers it up and charges again. Cecilia launches more missiles, but he dodges with renewed skill and nearly lands a solid hit. Unfortunately, just as he's about to connect, his shield's energy suddenly drops to zero. The match is called, and Cecilia is declared the winner. Confused, Ichika demands an explanation. Tatanashi tells him his weapon has a barrier-canceling function, which drains his shield energy in exchange for offensive power. Basically, he knocked himself out trying to land that final hit. Shifuyu then hands him a giant manual on how to use his new IS properly. Just by looking at it, Ichika knows he's screwed and will probably flunk out. Later that night, while Cecilia relaxes in the bath, she realizes she feels unsatisfied despite her victory. She wonders why she isn't happy about it. The next day during practice drills, Ichika and Cecilia are assigned to demonstrate IS maneuvers. He still struggles with speed, prompting Cecilia to offer him some tips. After practice, Tadanashi tells them to try dive landing. Cecilia nails it effortlessly, while Ichika crashes and burns. Cecilia rushes over to make sure he's okay, but Hooky interrupts, clearly jealous, leaving Ichika more confused than ever. Soon after, Cecilia steps down from her role as class representative, and to everyone's shock, Ichika is named her replacement. During the next class, they hear about a new transfer student from China. They assume she won't be much of a threat since she probably doesn't have her own IS. But when she arrives, she shocks everyone by revealing that she's a cadet representative, and she has a personal IS. Even more shocking to Ichika, it's Rin, his childhood friend. The two quickly reconnect, and the other students begin to wonder how many childhood friends this guy has. Rin admits she was surprised to see his name in the news for activating an IS and asks how it happened. Ichika explains that during the entrance exam, he got lost, wandered into a room with an IS unit, touched it out of curiosity, and somehow activated it, leading to his unexpected enrollment. At that moment, Cecilia and Hooky show up, clearly ticked off, demanding to know who this new girl is. Ichika brushes it off and says she's just a friend. Before the drama can escalate, the bell rings, signaling the start of individual training sessions. Hooky quickly activates her IS, eager to train hard with Ichika. Not wanting to be left out, Cecilia joins them, forming a chaotic trio. Later, Ichika is completely wiped out of breath after applauding both girls' performances. Cecilia eventually storms off, saying she's had enough. But Hooky, still fired up, suggests they go back to their room for something more intense. Later, while chatting with Rin, she finds out that Ichika is rooming with Hooky, and she's definitely not okay with it. Ichika tries to downplay it, claiming Hooky's clumsiness makes her harmless, but Rin isn't convinced. Frustrated by all the drama, Rin confronts Hooky and demands a room change, which instantly sets off Hooky's short fuse. Enraged, she grabs a wooden sword and charges at Rin. But Rin, staying calm, activates her IS and blocks the attack effortlessly. Then she brings up some mysterious childhood promise she once made with Ichika, but Ichika has no idea what she's talking about. He asks her to clarify, but she refuses. Instead, she challenges him to a match, declaring that the loser has to grant one request from the winner. Confident, Ichika accepts and vows to win, just so he can finally learn what that childhood promise was. On the day of the tournament, the two go all out, charging directly at each other. Rin's fierce, non-stop attacks push Ichika to his limits, forcing him to fight just to stay in the game. Realizing he'll wear himself out if he keeps up like this, Ichika tries to retreat to gain some distance, but Rin won't let up. She slams him with a heavy strike that knocks him to the ground. Still, Ichika scrambles back to his feet and keeps dodging her relentless assault. While maneuvering, he recalls a lecture about IS systems and wonders if he can activate his barrier-canceling ability in this situation. His sudden shift in tactics gets Yamada curious, while Shifuyu guesses he might be attempting an ignition boost, a surprise burst of acceleration to catch the opponent off guard. As Rin charges again, Ichika suddenly rushes her at full speed. But just before he reaches her, a beam of energy slices through the arena, triggering a massive explosion. Shifuyu quickly realizes the arena's safety barrier has been breached by an unknown force and immediately halts the match, ordering everyone to evacuate. Amid the chaos, Rin tells Ichika to retreat while she handles the threat alone. After all, he's weak as wet noodles, but Ichika taps into his inner Sigma male instincts and refuses to leave her behind. He declares he's not the kind of guy to abandon a girl in danger. Suddenly, another energy blast targets Rin. Ichika reacts on instinct and pulls her away just in time. The unknown aerial enemy becomes increasingly aggressive, firing a barrage of attacks. Rin yells for Ichika to move forward while she provides cover fire. Ichika agrees, but he's hopeless with firearms. He flunked target practice by missing all 4 shots. Meanwhile, Yamada urges the evacuation again, but the situation turns dire. The protective barrier has been hacked by the unidentified IS and locked at full power, preventing anyone from escaping or reinforcements from entering. Ichika notices that his shield energy is critically low. He can only use his barrier-canceling skill one more time. Then it hits him. The enemy IS's movements are oddly robotic, reacting only under specific conditions. That's when Ichika deduces the shocking truth. The enemy IS is unmanned. Rin is stunned. It's hard to believe something that powerful is operating on its own. Determined to end this, Ichika decides to unleash Harakabakia, a powerful weapon that's been banned in school due to its destructive potential. Rin isn't impressed. She scoffs, saying it's pointless to act like a hero when he'll just screw it up anyway. Still, she agrees to support his plan and waits for his signal to fire her cannons at full power as they strategize. Hoki suddenly appears on the battlefield, trying to cheer Ichika on. Unfortunately, her presence draws the enemy's attention. The IS launches a direct attack at her. Ichika immediately tells Rin to fire at him. He absorbs the explosion, recharges his shield, and launches a counterattack. But he misses again. The rogue IS dodges with ease and slams him with a devastating punch. Just as it's about to deliver the finishing blow, Cecilia swoops in, blasting the enemy with a surprise laser barrage that seems to destroy it. But just when they think it's over, the enemy IS's severed arm powers back up and fires one last shot, hitting Ichika and seriously wounding him. He's rushed to the infirmary. Later, Yamada and Shifuyu inspect the enemy's wreckage. To their surprise, they find that its core isn't on any of the global IS registries. It's not one of the known 467 cores. This discovery leaves them deeply concerned. What exactly are they dealing with? Meanwhile, Yamada walks into room 1025 to inform Hoki that her new dorm room is ready. But when Ichika casually tells her she can go ahead and move out, she gets visibly annoyed and immediately starts packing her things in a storm of frustration. Not long after, Hoki storms back into Ichika's life with a bold challenge. If she wins the upcoming all-class tournament, Ichika has to go on a date with her. A tempting offer indeed. A group of nearby students overhears the conversation and, as expected, the gossip spreads like wildfire throughout the school. The next day, a new transfer student named Charles, a cadet representative from France, is introduced to the class, shocking everyone as yet another guy joins this all-girls academy. Shifuyu announces that the class will have a joint IS training session with Class 2 and tells Ichika and Charles to go change first, since they're both guys. Ichika, thrilled to finally have some male company, drags Charles into the locker room. But a swarm of curious girls gathers outside, eager to catch a glimpse of the new transfer student. Inside, Ichika casually changes clothes while Charles shyly turns away, prompting Ichika to wonder if this guy is maybe not into girls. Training begins with Shifuyu choosing Cecilia and Rin to demonstrate their skills. They hesitate at first but get fired up when Shifuyu hints it's a perfect chance to impress Ichika. Just before they begin, Yamada stumbles into Ichika, landing them both in a suspicious position that's clearly just an excuse to spice up the story. Despite all the bragging, Cecilia and Rin are hilariously defeated by Yamada in seconds, like squashing a fly. The class then splits into smaller groups for more training. Ichika helps his team suit up one by one, until Huang insists on going next. She complains that she can't reach the cockpit, so Ichika activates his IS to lift her, and she seizes the chance to invite him to lunch. He agrees, but unknowingly drags his friends along, ruining the romantic setup. The next day, another new student arrives, Laura from Germany, sporting an intimidating eye patch. She immediately calls Shifuyu her master instructor, which instantly reminds Ichika that this was his sister's title back when she worked in Germany. On her way to her seat, Laura walks straight up to Ichika and slaps him in the face, stunning the entire class. She then announces that she'll never acknowledge him as Shifuyu's brother. The following day, while everyone else is training, Hoki, Rin, and Cecilia try to train Ichika all at once. But poor Ichika struggles to keep up, thanks to his goldfish-like memory. Charles shows up with his IS and offers to spar using Byakushiki. Ichika accepts eagerly. As soon as the match begins, Charles overwhelms Ichika, draining his shield energy with rapid shots. After the quick fight, Charles explains some of his IS's features and hands Ichika his rifle to practice with. While Ichika is still trying to figure the weapon out, Laura suddenly appears and challenges him to a duel. Ichika refuses, suggesting they wait for the next official match. But Laura doesn't care. She launches a surprise attack. Charles jumps in, blocking her strike and ready to retaliate. A teacher steps in just in time to stop the clash, forcing Laura to retreat. Later, while the other girls bombard Ichika with questions about Laura, Charles finds him in the locker room and tries to sneak out. But Ichika corners him, asking why he always avoids changing clothes around him. Charles panics and flees in embarrassment. Later that night, as Ichika walks back to his dorm, he overhears Laura begging Shifuyu to return to Germany and resume her duties, instead of wasting her time at the academy. Shifuyu brushes her off, calling her request nonsense. Ichika gets caught eavesdropping and gets scolded by Shifuyu. Curious, He asks if what Laura said was true. Does she not recognize him as her brother because she blames him for her loss at the second IS tournament? Shifuyu tells him to forget it. It's all in the past. But here's the truth. During the finals of that second international IS battle tournament, Ichika was kidnapped. Shifuyu immediately withdrew from the finals to rescue him. The rescue caused massive controversy, and because Germany's military helped track him down, she was obligated to stay and train their IS division for a full year. Later, Ichika returns to his room and unexpectedly finds Charles in the shower. Trying to be helpful, Ichika offers him a new bottle of body wash. But that's when he spots something shocking. Charles has boobs. Ichika quickly retreats in panic, his brain spiraling. When Charles returns from the bathroom, things get awkward. Ichika finally confronts him. Why pretend to be a guy? Charles reveals that she was ordered to do so by her father. She explains that she's not his biological daughter, but he adopted her a decade ago. Once he discovered her high compatibility with the IS system, he started testing her under his company's watchful eye. After Charles's shocking reveal, things get even more complicated. Her company recently suffered a major setback, falling behind competitors by sticking to outdated second-gen IS models, while everyone else advanced to third-gen tech. Ichika asks what that has to do with her cross-dressing act, and Charles admits she was planted in the academy to spy on him and gather intel on his unique IS. Now exposed, she reveals that her only option is to return home and likely face prison time. But Ichika, being the chivalrous cinnamon roll he is, tells her she can stay. According to academy regulations, students are considered neutral, unaffiliated with any nation, organization, or faction. While enrolled at that moment, Cecilia knocks on the door. Charles, panicking, pretends to be sick to avoid getting caught in the girls' dorm. Cecilia ends up dragging him out for dinner anyway, forcing Charles to keep up the act. Meanwhile, in the shadows, Laura hatches her plan: eliminate Ichika, who she blames for distracting her beloved master, Shifuyu. The next day, rumors spread like wildfire across campus. Whoever wins the upcoming tournament gets to go out with Ichika. Hookie is flustered and wonders how everyone found out about her private deal with him. Tension builds, and the usual suspects, Hookie and Rin, get into another petty squabble over who's stronger, leading to yet another duel challenge. Before they can go full WWE, Laura suddenly steps in and stirs the pot even more. The heated argument explodes into an all-out brawl. Ichika and Charles rush to the arena to stop the chaos, but it's already a full-on spectacle. Rin fires her impact cannons at Laura, who easily dodges with some flashy inertia-based maneuvering, leaving Ichika speechless. Rin goes all in, but Laura blocks every strike like a machine. Laura retaliates, blasting Rin and capturing her midair. But before she can go any further, Cecilia fires off a barrage of missiles to intervene, only to get caught in one of her own traps. Laura uses Rin as a human yo-yo, hurling her towards Cecilia, then prepares to fire her own cannon at point-blank range. Cecilia reflexively shoots back, and though they believe they've finally landed a solid hit on Laura, she emerges untouched. She quickly wraps them up with her tethers and starts attacking relentlessly, completely ignoring their safety. Enraged, Ichika smashes through the arena's protective barrier to save his friends, but Laura blocks him effortlessly and prepares to attack. That's when Charles opens fire, creating a distraction long enough for Ichika to yank Cecilia and Rin out of harm's way. Laura grabs Charles next and gets ready to strike, but Shifuyu drops in like a goddess and blocks the attack, shutting everything down with authority. She bans all unofficial fights until the tournament. Rin and Cecilia are taken to the infirmary, where Ichika and Charles stick around to keep them company. That's when a group of students rushes in with breaking news. The upcoming tournament will now be a tag team event. Those without partners will be randomly assigned one. Naturally, every girl in class immediately begs Ichika to team up with her, but he shocks them all by choosing Charles. Rin and Cecilia also ask, but Yamada sadly tells them they're disqualified due to their damaged IS suits. The next day, the matchups are revealed, including some spicy random pairings. Ichika and Charles discover that their first opponents are none other than Laura and Hookie. Yup, the chaos train isn't stopping anytime soon. The match kicks off. Ichika charges straight at Laura, only for her to neutralize him instantly with her inertia blocker. Just as she's about to strike, thinking he made a rookie mistake, Charles appears behind Ichika and fires off a volley. Laura narrowly evades, but Hookie jumps in to shield her. Hookie then dashes toward Charles, but Ichika blocks her mid-run, while Charles readies her cannons to counter. Suddenly, Laura grabs Hookie and yanks her behind her, continuing the battle solo with Ichika. Hookie tries to rejoin, but Charles relentlessly blasts her until Hookie's IS breaks down, forcing her to retreat. Charles returns to Ichika's side and the duo face off against Laura. Laura uses her inertia blocker again to resist. But while she's distracted by Charles, Ichika leaps from above to strike with perfect timing. The fight with Laura continues to escalate. Ichika closes in with a fierce strike, but Laura narrowly dodges. As she tries to counter with her inertia blocker, Charles surprises her with a cannon shot to the flank. With the momentum shifting, Ichika spots an opening and rushes in, but his IS suddenly powers down as his shield energy hits zero. Laura wastes no time and slams him to the ground. Charles reacts fast, activating an ignition boost and catching Laura off guard. Just as Laura readies a counterattack, Ichika fires his rifle from behind. Furious, she whips her grappling hook at him, but Charles takes the moment to land a clean hit that shatters her shield. Charles doesn't let up. She charges Laura and lands a flurry of precise blows. As she's overwhelmed, Laura flashes back to her grueling training, how she pushed herself beyond the limit to stay relevant in the era of IS combat. To enhance her compatibility, a nanomachine was implanted in her eye, but it never fully adapted. She was labeled defective. Everything changed when Shifuyu became her instructor. With Shifuyu's guidance, Laura regained her standing and clawed her way back to the top. Laura remembers asking why Shifuyu was so strong. The answer? Because I have a little brother. That simple reply stuck in Laura's mind, and from that moment on, she became obsessed with defeating the one who had taken her mentor's attention. Back in the arena, Laura activates the nanomachines in her eye, triggering a terrifying transformation that stuns the entire stadium. The alert level goes red, and the tournament is immediately halted. Spectators are evacuated as Laura, now a berserk creature, resembles a twisted version of Shifuyu. Ichika prepares to fight, but she knocks him out with a single blow, shutting down his IS. Despite being helpless, he stubbornly tries to fight her in his regular form, until Hookie stops him, asking what he could possibly do without his IS. Charles then steps in, volunteering to transfer energy from her own IS core to help him reboot. With renewed power, Ichika activates a limited version of Byakushiki, unleashes the powerful weapon Yukihira Nagata, and lands a crushing blow that finally defeats the creature and frees Laura from its grip. Later in the infirmary, Laura wakes up. Yamada explains she triggered Valkyrie Trace, a forbidden emergency system within her IS that only activates under extreme stress. It wasn't supposed to exist. Over lunch, Ichika reminds Hookie of their date promise, which makes her blush uncontrollably. Yamada arrives with good news. As a reward, Ichika and Charles get access to the boys' public bath. While Ichika relaxes in the steamy water, Charles suddenly joins him. She takes this quiet moment to say she's done pretending to be a boy. She's ready to reveal her real identity as Charlotte. The next morning, Yamada formally reintroduces her to the class. The rumors explode, especially after people learn Charlotte and Ichika bathed together. Rin storms into the classroom ready to end Ichika's bloodline, until Laura shows up and, without warning, kisses Ichika right in front of everyone. A few nights later, Hookie receives a surprise call from her sister, Dr. Tabane. Despite trying to end the conversation, Tabane cheerfully tells her that she's built a custom IS just for her, a powerful self-evolving unit called Akitsubaki. Hookie is completely stunned. The next morning, Ichika wakes up to find Laura completely naked in his bed. When he asks what she's doing, she replies that now that they're a couple, she wants to do what couples in Ohio do. Ichika, utterly confused, demands to know who filled her head with nonsense, before Laura tackles him for a workout session. Just as things heat up, Hookie barges in to call him for training, only to find him already sweating with Laura in ways she did not expect. Days later, the class heads out for a much-needed beach trip. While the others have fun in the sun, Hookie sits alone, deep in thought. Shifuyu joins her and gently asks what's bothering her. Hookie admits she's been thinking about her sister. Shifuyu then reveals that she recently spoke with Tabane and confirmed she had nothing to do with the rogue V system in Laura's IS. Later that evening, during dinner, Cecilia awkwardly struggles to sit properly, unfamiliar with local customs. Ichika notices her discomfort and kindly offers to feed her, literally. She accepts with a blush, and he carefully places a piece of meat into her mouth. The moment gets a little too cozy, causing quite a stir among the group. Shifuyu quickly intervenes, scolding Ichika and reminding him to keep things under control. After she leaves, Ichika tells Cecilia they should cool it for now, but slyly adds that she's welcome to drop by his room later for a special reward. Encouraged by the invitation, Cecilia puts on her best lingerie beneath her sauna robe and sneaks over to Ichika's room, only to find all the other girls already there, eavesdropping outside his door. Suddenly, the door swings open, exposing the entire group. Busted. Shifuyu catches them red-handed and questions their sketchy behavior. Embarrassed and unable to explain, the girls fumble for words. Shifuyu casually mentions that Ichika was only giving her a massage and, with a smirk, invites the others to join and see for themselves. To prove his skills, Ichika calls on Cecilia to go first, explaining that she was the reason he arranged the whole thing. As he begins the massage, Cecilia tries hard not to moan, but Shifuyu notices her revealing outfit and instantly realizes she came expecting something much spicier. Cecilia turns crimson with shame. The next morning, Ichika catches Hooky staring intensely at a poster. Curious, he asks her about it, but she brushes him off. Not satisfied, he grabs the poster, and out of nowhere, a massive ship descends from the sky. And just like that, Dr. Tabane Shinanono makes her grand entrance, complete with eccentric theatrics. Later, when Ichika and the girls meet up with Shifuyu, Tabane appears with her usual chaotic energy, acting completely over the top. The girls are stunned, and more than a little disappointed. Is this really the genius scientist they idolized? Suddenly, another ship lands. This one delivers Hooky's new custom IS suit, Akitsubaki, a cutting-edge 4th-generation model. Eager to try it out, Hooky hops in and begins testing its abilities. While she shows off her moves, Yamada bursts in with an urgent report. 2 hours earlier, a jointly developed unmanned IS, codenamed Silver Gospel, a project between the US and Israel, had gone rogue and escaped surveillance airspace. The team quickly starts planning a response, but there's a problem. Silver Gospel is moving at supersonic speed. They'll only have one shot to take it down. To land that blow, they need someone with precision, power, and guts, Ichika, but the challenge is getting close enough without being vaporized. Laura suggests using a fast IS to match its speed, but Tabane cuts in with a better idea. Use Hooky's new Akitsubaki to launch Ichika. Tabane then brings up the infamous whiteout incident from 10 years ago. 1 month after she stepped away from the IS project, hackers hijacked global missile systems and launched 2,341 warheads at Japan. Amid the chaos, a woman piloting a white IS appeared, intercepted every missile, and vanished without a trace. Back to the present, Hooky and Ichika are assigned to the mission, which starts in just 30 minutes. As they gear up, Ichika notices how fired up Hooky is and asks if it's because she finally has her own personal IS. She brushes it off, saying she's just being herself. Before launch, Shifuyu checks in, going over mission details and reminding Ichika to watch over Hooky. Her enthusiasm might make her reckless. The mission begins. Ichika rides atop Akitsubaki, clinging on as Hooky rockets through the sky. Their plan: get close, strike hard, and finish it in one shot. As they close in, Hooky accelerates, and Ichika preps his attack. But Silver Gospel suddenly shifts trajectory, dodging at the last second and firing its cannons in retaliation. Forced to adapt, Ichika and Hooky split up to flank it, but the rogue IS proves incredibly agile and tough to pin down. Moving at lightning speed, Hooky unleashes her metallic weapons, grappling onto the rogue IS and creating the perfect opening for Ichika to strike. But just as he's about to deliver the final blow, he spots a nearby ship and hesitates, worried about the civilians on board. Hooky insists they're criminals and urges him to focus on the mission, but Ichika refuses. He can't just ignore innocent lives. Frustrated, Hooky presses him again, but Ichika suddenly pulls her into a surreal alternate dimension, reminding her that with great power comes greater responsibility. His words strike a nerve, leaving her shaken and vulnerable. At that very moment, the enemy seizes the chance and launches a devastating attack. Ichika throws himself in front of Hooky, taking the full blast and crashing into the sea unconscious. He's rushed to the infirmary in critical condition. Racked with guilt, Shifuyu can't bring herself to visit, while Hooky remains by Ichika's side, consumed with regret. Later, Yamada urges Hooky to take a break. Exhausted, she stumbles onto the beach, lost in memories of her time with Ichika. That's when Rin confronts her, blaming her for his condition, hoping to snap her out of it. Rin tells her to stop wallowing and get it together. Hooky, feeling broken, admits she no longer wants to pilot her IS. Rin, furious, slaps her across the face, reigniting her fighting spirit. Hooky looks around and realizes all the girls have gathered, ready to defy orders and take down Silver Gospel themselves. Laura reveals the enemy's last known location, and they race into action. Yamada warns them they're breaking protocol, but they've stopped caring about rules. Once they arrive, Laura fires her powerful cannon, immediately triggering alarms at the command center. Shifuyu and Yamada, monitoring the situation, realize the girls have gone rogue. Silver Gospel survives the initial barrage, dodging all incoming fire with insane speed. Meanwhile, Inside a dreamlike realm, Ichika meets a mysterious woman in white. The scenery shifts as an AI materializes, asking him if he seeks power. Ichika remains silent, observing quietly. Back in reality, Hooky manages to rip off one of Silver Gospel's arms, sending it crashing into the ocean. The team breathes a sigh of relief until it emerges again, even stronger than before, creating a massive tsunami that ends the vision. Ichika finally answers the AI. Yes, he wants power, to protect his friends and fight the evil threatening their world. Back on the battlefield, Silver Gospel begins to overpower the team one by one. Hooky, desperate and on the verge of collapse, suddenly sees Ichika arrive, calling her name. Stunned, she begins to cry, but he lightens the mood by giving her a birthday ribbon. Then, he dashes into battle. At headquarters, Shifuyu receives word. Ichika is no longer in the infirmary. Yamada sees his IS, Byakushiki, has transformed into its final form, Setsura. Excited to fight alongside him, Hooky's IS activates Kenran Butu, fully restoring her shield. Ichika, now in Setsura mode, faces Silver Gospel again, though his shield energy is nearly depleted from earlier hits. Hooky grabs his hand, instantly replenishing his shield with her own energy. Together, they launch a synchronized assault. Silver Gospel counters with ruthless efficiency, landing blow after blow. When it targets Rin, Charlotte jumps in to protect her. Ichika uses the opening to strike from its blind spot, slamming it toward the water and applying intense pressure until its shield finally gives out. After the battle, Shifuyu scolds the team for disobeying orders, but admits they did well. Later that night, she confronts Tabane, exposing her secret schemes, guiding Ichika to a room with a random IS, faking the timing so he could sync with it, and even triggering the rogue IS incident just as Hooky got her new suit. Realizing she's been found out, Tabane vanishes without a word. Meanwhile, Ichika and Hooky find themselves on the school's wing, trying to share a moment together, but the other girls, driven by jealousy, open fire on them in typical chaotic fashion. If you made it this far, let's confuse fake fans. Comment rest in peace Ichika. And hey, smash that like button if you love this recap, and subscribe for more legendary anime breakdowns. Thanks for watching.